Okay, so let me paint you a scenario. In a school on the outskirts of Melbourne, a teacher walks into a class. She's prepared this lesson on Gallipoli, and then she looks at the students and she realises a third of them were of Turkish background. Now, she managed somehow to adjust what she was going to teach, but the problem remained. Today, nearly half of our population has either its parents who were born abroad or was born abroad themselves. In fact, migration has become one of the biggest disruptors of our society. And this disruption is happening in our schools. Our curriculum still struggles to embody the lived experience of people who come from different backgrounds. And we need to address this issue because otherwise schooling will become increasingly irrelevant. Not only, it could actually increase further discrimination and isolation of people. Already today, 40% of our school population suffers from discrimination and isolation because of their racial origins. So this is not a secondary matter. The Gallipoli episode begs the question of the greater problem. Just how inclusive is the grand narrative of our curriculum? While great work has been done to acknowledge Indigenous narratives, there's still a lot to be done to embrace other non-Anglo-Saxon narratives. Our current curriculum still tells people, students, who is Australian and who is not. And it privileges certain cultural mythologies. I have dedicated my research to unpicking the assumptions that underpin the history curriculum in particular. History is a particularly contested space in our curriculum because it's seen as vital to our nation building. Politicians determine whose and what history is being taught. And a lot of you will recall this from our history wars. I suggest a new model, an open curriculum that can accommodate the diverse voices that make up the Australian cultural mosaic. I am conducting research on civilian internment in World War II. This is a largely hidden and unrecognised history. This photograph is of the Loveday internment camp in South Australia during World War II. How many people know about the Loveday internment camp here? So it sort of indicates, this is the importance of what I'm trying to raise awareness of. During World War I and World War II, over 10,000 people, including naturalised or Australian-born citizens, were interned. Their ethnic origins were mostly German, Italian and Japanese, but not only. It didn't matter whether or not they were citizens of other countries. It was their ethnic origin which created the risk of internment. I argue that the legacy of shame, trauma and bitterness of internment is intergenerational and continues to divide these communities. The legacy of these things is still there amongst us. And if you see Who Do You Think You Are, all those programs around people of different origins that are on television, it's come up a couple of times. Located between our convict past and our present asylum seeker policies, I argue that these events are not episodic. They reflect strong continuities in our history and in our political life. Even so, civilian internment currently only exists in the history curriculum as an optional elaboration in years 6 and 9. So it's not even looked at in any other year. The term asylum seekers can only be found once in the curriculum. And this is the Italian language unit, so go figure. My research raises the public profile of these events and associated continuities. By highlighting these contradictions and acknowledging these hidden narratives, my research invites others to listen to the diversity of voices that are not heard in society. I advocate their inclusion in the curriculum. Recognition of the diversity of voices in our curriculum, in our community, can change how all disciplines are currently taught in our schools. It affects everything. It affects a vision of the world, geography, it affects even literature. Our increasingly diverse society makes this change even more urgent. We will not be able to build a truly harmonious and progressive future if these voices are not recognised and embodied in the curriculum. My vision is for a truly inclusive curriculum that acknowledges and celebrates all our nation's narratives. Thank you.